All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mobile App Academy. This is our live building series where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps on the Now platform. My name is David Ha, and I'm an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow, and I'll be your host for today's session. I also have Ian Kinnear here today as our main presenter for today, and we want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live here today. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to the session. Our product experts are here to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any questions that you have along the way. And we do host these mobile app academies every 2 weeks at 10 a.m. Pacific. And our recordings will be posted on YouTube on the ServiceNow Now community channel. Just pointing out a few resources that we do have available. If you are new to mobile, we do recommend that you check out some of our self and new-made resources, such as our mobile guidebooks and white papers that you can find on the community site. But we do also have a plethora of other resources, such as the labs and trainings on Now Learning, our playlist to previous app academies, where you can find sessions like mobile agent quick start guides, getting started with Now Mobile. And we have almost over 40 other videos that you can check out as well. And if you do like sessions like these, our ServiceNow teams also do host other academies such as HR Service Delivery, Platform Foundation, Platform Analytics, Virtual Agent, and many others. And you can find those series in their respective communities by navigating to those forum tabs. But with all that said, let's get started with today's topic. Today, we're going to show you how you can redirect mobile agent users to the Now Mobile client. And this is primarily for customers who are currently using both apps today, but want to make sure that users are logging into the correct apps from the public app stores. For the users who are incorrectly logging into the agent app, how do you redirect those users to the Now Mobile app? Okay. And just to quickly review, for today's schedule, this will be a quick 40-minute session. We'll start off with a quick 5-minute overview with what you can do and what are all the important concepts and ideas here. And then we'll jump into the exercise and wrap it up with some Q&A. Okay. But with that being said, I'm now going to pass it over to Ian to take us through today's exercise.
Excellent. So as David mentioned, what we're going to look at today is how to redirect our employees that may have downloaded and accessed the agent app and basically are going to get confused and not have a good experience. So how can we give them a good experience instead? So again, the scenario is you've deployed both agent and Now Mobile. You're leveraging the public apps. And what we're going to want to do is create something like what you can see here on the screen, a content section that appears in agent, but only when users have no specific roles assigned, i.e. our employees. And as a special bonus, what we can also do is give them a way to tap, to easily access the Now Mobile app instead. Or if they haven't downloaded it yet, then we can provide them a way to get to the correct app store and download that. So that being said, we're going to jump into the exercise here and take a look. All right. Are you seeing my browser and phone okay, David?
Looks good.
Excellent. So the first thing I want to show you is the experience that agents should be using. I'm using the customer service application for the agent app. And just for the sake of this example, it doesn't really matter what you're using for your agents. Could be field service, could be ITSM, could be anything. But in this case, we're using customer service. And the reason why I'm showing you how it looks as an agent first is because the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to take a look at our navigation bar here, and we can see that the very first launcher screen that we're going to be able to access is our cases. And so what we can do now, with that in mind, we'll take a look at what would happen if we were to log in as an employee. Try that one more time. All right. So here we are. We're logged in as an employee. We've downloaded the wrong app. We don't know. So we're expecting to see a good experience, but instead we see something like this, where we see a navigation screen, maybe something else, maybe your saved items and settings, but we don't really have any content that we can access. So what we're going to want to do instead is we're going to expose that cases screen, launcher screen that we were looking at earlier, to our employee, but lock down the sections on it so that they're not visible to employees, and display another section, which is going to be a content section that's going to show the user our message, basically. So the first thing that we're going to want to do here is expose that. Sorry, just had to end my slideshow there. So we're going to expose that cases launcher screen. So in order to do that, we'll tap into our mobile app builder here. And what I've done here is, just for the sake of time, I've logged in and accessed the mobile app config for our agent app. And I did that so that we can see through our navigation bar what are all the screens that we have here. And we're going to look for our cases screen that we know that agents would see by default. So let's take a look at that. And we're going to open it up, take a look at the launcher screen. And we can see that this particular launcher screen is limited to be accessed by our customer service agent role. So we're going to go ahead and remove that and save to expose it. And then we can also look underneath there, and we can make sure that these sections here for approvals, for cases, for needs attention cases that are going to display to our agents, let's make sure that they all are already, in this case, limited, but you can just check to make sure that those are not going to display to users that don't have the correct role. So the effect should now be, if we log out, and log back in as our employee again. We can now see our cases tab. So step one is complete. And what we can do now is figure out how to access our content. We're going to add some content that we're going to use to display for that. And so an easy way to do that is to leverage the static media section table that comes out of the box. So this is what's going to display if I was to show you real quick. This type of image. This is my Now mobile app, where we're seeing content here at this image at the top. So we're going to leverage that table that comes out of the box and use it for this purpose. So switch back over to our other app and tap back. And then we're going to go to our static media section table that I favorited, which by the way, is SNME static media section. And here we can see that we have one static media section record that comes out of the box. So we'll go ahead and add a new one. And before we actually do that, we're going to take a look at this content viewers dropdown that's here. This is important because we already have out of the box functionality to display that content for users that leverages this field. So what would happen if we were to go ahead and add something that we wanted to display only for employees accessing the agent app without making any changes here? Well, our content could display in Now Mobile, and obviously that's not intended. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure our choices here for this table. And it's going to tell us, so that in this case, this table's in the Now Mobile application. And I had planned to use the customer service mobile. So I'm going to go ahead and click there to edit the record anyway. Obviously, if you're tracking your update sets, you're going to have an update set in Now Mobile now, as well as our customer service mobile application update set. So what we'll do is we'll add a new item here, which is going to allow us to differentiate it between the out-of-the-box contents media section that's going to display this and filter out only these items. So what we'll do is we'll name it. I'm going to be really specific about what I call it, because it's going to matter for our data item that we'll create later. So we'll call it Employees Accessing Agent and save this. And now we have this drop-down value. We don't have to worry about this content we're going to add displaying anywhere else. And we'll go ahead and create two of these static media sections, one for telling the user, first of all, that they're in the wrong app, and the other is going to be for helping them download the correct app. So we'll call this first one, we'll give it a title of "You open the ServiceNow agent only mobile application." And for our text, we'll give a little longer description so that the user knows exactly what the issue is. I won't make you wait for me to type it all out, so I'll paste it here and take a look. Just saying tap here to open the Now mobile app to access our employee-focused experience, and so on. So we'll give this an order of 50. We're going to go ahead and check this visibility checkbox so that we can filter based on that as well. In case we need to turn any of these off, we can just uncheck this. And let's save this first one. We can add an image as well. And I do believe I have one somewhere. It should be good. It's not the right file type, so that means that it's probably a JPEG. So let me quickly rename that file. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so there's our first one. And with that done, we can go ahead and create another one. And I'm missing a Y there, probably. Okay, this next one, I'm just going to call it Need the App. And we'll just say tap here to open the App Store to download the app. And this one, I believe, actually should be a PNG. Okay, so let's just take a quick peek at our two records just to make sure we've got two static media section records, we're going to filter them to be only for employees accessing the agent app. Let's go ahead and remove this dash. And that should be good. So next, what we're going to do is we'll create a template using Mobile Card Builder along with a card in order to display that content. So let's go ahead and go back to our mobile app builder, and we're going to go here under cards and icons and click new. We're going to first create a template to display this content. And we can call it employees accessing agent card template. Go ahead and save that and open it in Mobile Card Builder. All right, so we'll just create something quickly here and hopefully it looks okay. Once it's all set up, obviously we can spend more time and tweak the template to pretty it up nicely, but we'll just work on getting something basic here to start. So we'll add a container, and inside of there, we'll add a text block for a title. So this will be a field value. We'll go ahead and make it a larger font size and weight. So we'll make it bold, and we'll allow it to be a couple lines here. And then we'll change this container to be vertical, make a new one here. And below we'll make another container because inside we'll place an image. And just to, for the image, we'll give it a height and a width of 125 to prevent it from getting too large. And select this container again, and we'll add some more text here for our longer text that's going to display. And in this case, we'll go for 5 lines, and we'll see what it looks like with our regular font weight and size of 13. And can make this text block 80. We'll see what this looks like. So now that we have a template, we can head back and build the actual card this time that's going to leverage the template. We'll call it employees accessing agent card. For the data, we'll select our static media section table. And we'll choose our template that we just created. Should be good. And then save that. And then we'll go ahead and open up that card real quick in Mobile Card Builder, and we'll assign our fields from the table to our template. So that's going to be for our title up at the top, our image, and our text. Again, this may not look perfect when we first look at it, but it should be enough for a start. Okay, so now that we have our template and our card, let's go ahead and create a section in order to display the content. So for that, we'll go back to our mobile app builder again, and we'll select our mobile app configs and mobile agent, just so we can get back into the navigation bar and create our UI section in the correct place. And so we'll again find that cases launcher tab and launcher screen, which is right here. And we can see that this particular launcher screen has 3 sections that we saw earlier that are going to appear for agents: approvals, cases, and needs attention cases. So we'll go ahead and create a new one. And here, we're not going to select a record just because we want to give this content a little more space to display. So I'm going to select content up here for this section, and we can give it a name. Content section. Just save it. And we're going to need to give it a container. So we'll make a new one here. And a new list stream. We'll select our table here again. Static media section table. And next, we're going to need to create a data item for this. And this actually is going to be where most of the magic is going to happen, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a data item that will return no rows if the user is an agent. And we're going to set this UI section to hide if no rows are returned. That way, agents will never see it. But if the user doesn't have a role, we'll actually return those media section records that we set up, and they'll display. So at first, just to make sure that we have things okay, we'll just create a data item that will display the records regardless, and then we can go ahead, tweak it further and script it out. So let's create a new data item. We'll call it employees accessing agent data item. We'll select our table for this data item, which is going to be the static media section table again. Again, to start, we'll just make it declarative. So we can do use our visibility field, as well as our content viewers is going to be our new employees accessing agent. And we can sort it by the order. All right. So we're going to take a look at how it looks, but first, I just want to go back to my content section. And make sure that we're set up properly here. Open this record app and platform just to take a look at it. Okay. If need be, we can create a different kind of section here because we're going to want to make sure that it hides for the user if there's no records returned. So let me just make sure that we have that part correct. What's odd was what I'm getting hung up on here, sorry, is that the I want to see these settings to hide the section if empty and hide the header. And I want to make sure that that's going to work okay, but we aren't displaying them on this content section here. So maybe we can just update this. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to suggest just the same, possibly expose it on platform.
Yeah. So we'll edit this section in global and we'll expose hide section if empty and these as well. And we'll hide the header and hide section if empty. And if need be, we can always go back and make that a record section. Okay. And now, if we're lucky, we should be able to, oh, we probably need to save, don't we? I'll need to get rid of this. And I'll just log out to make sure that we're refreshed here. Something not right here, so let's take a look and figure out what's going on. Oh, so we're going to need to create our list item config as well. I missed that. So let's call it our employees accessing agent list item config. We'll select our table. And we're going to need to specify the card that we were going to use for this. So since we already created it, we'll select the card. We're going to add some functions to that, but we'll do that later on once we see this actually display. Okay, so that looks a little better. It looks all right, actually. We've got our title, we've got all of our lines of text, and we've got our, could have a little border spacing between these, but that's okay. Should work for now. Okay, so next thing we want to do, so as it is now, as a regular agent, I'm going to see this too, which we don't want. So let's go back and take a look at that data item. And we're going to go ahead and make this a scripted data item. And in order, just for the sake of time, I'm going to paste in a script here and then we'll review it together. And David is also going to paste it into a chat so you have it as well. So let's take a look at what this script does. What we're going to do, it's pretty straightforward. This is just written in a very simple way, and in the hopes that it just makes it easier for us to quickly get a good understanding of it. We're just querying the sys user has role table, and we're going to look for essentially any roles at all that come back for the user. This sys ID that you see here, I'm just filtering out the SNC internal role. And then I'm also going to tie it to the specific user and make sure it's active. In order to build that kind of query, you can do that pretty easily by navigating to the table and just using your regular list query functionality to build out your query and then grab it. So for example, the user is dynamic me. And then we can copy that query and paste it in. Obviously, we also adding in the active and filtering out SNC internal. So that's how this line that you see over here has been built. Try to make that a little bigger. And then once the query is there, we'll obviously execute the query. And then what we're doing here is, if there are rows, we're going to add to our query string that's going to get returned back for this data item, sysid is -1. This really could be anything. It's just a way to make sure that this query never returns anything, because obviously there's going to be no record in that table with a sysid of -1. Could be sysid is you'll never find this, whatever. As long as it doesn't return anything, we're going to be fine. And then but if it does return rows, then we're going to, if it doesn't return any rows, we're going to add this condition that we had earlier. So we're going to display the records from the static media section table that have content viewers, employees accessing agent, and that have the visibility turned to true. And we're going to order it by the order. So hopefully that all makes sense. And we can go ahead and save that and then refresh this. And we should still see it because we're logged in as an employee. But if we logged out and logged back in again as the agent, this wouldn't display. So at this point, I'll just pause for a second, David, and let me know if there's any questions about what we've done so far before we go into the function piece.
I think we've answered most of the questions up till now, but let me see if I can highlight one. We did get a question from Paul. He asked, how do you create roles and conditions in policy screens before the launcher screen if any new user joins? So this might be unrelated to the exercise, but Paul, we did do a App Academy specifically just for mobile UI roles. It's a great getting started video on how you can apply your own policies or maybe even migrate old UI policies over to UI roles. So I'll post a link in the chat and definitely recommend checking that out. Besides that, I'm not seeing any other questions yet.
Okay, perfect. So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at adding the functions in order to allow the user to open Now Mobile from here. So a little trick that I'll show you to do that is we can create a function and with this type of function that we'll create will be a URL, and it will what we'll do is we'll actually use the app name in order to open it directly. So let's give this, I'll show you what I mean. We'll give it a name and call it Open Now Mobile. And we'll give it the context of our table, which is again the static media section table. And this will be a URL. We won't take the source from a field, but what we'll do is we'll use this string. I'll paste in here for you. And we'll make the URL SN request. And so this is the name of our Now Mobile app that's in the public app store. So it's going to attempt to open that app once the user taps. So we'll call it Open Now Mobile. We'll go ahead and save this. And we'll also go ahead and we'll add a function instance for this in a second. So before our function appears anywhere, we'll need to create an instance of that function so that it only applies for this particular media section record. But just in the interest of time, we'll go back and create our second function, which is going to display for the app. And for this one, it's a little bit tricky just because we could enter the URL for either the Apple App Store link for the Now Mobile app. But if the user is running an Android phone, that won't help, and vice versa. So we're going to need to put something in the middle in order to detect what type of device it is and send them to the right URL. So an easy way to do that is to create a portal page with a widget on it and a little bit of client side scripting in order to send the user to the correct page. So I'll just take a look at how we won't build all of that from scratch, but I'll take a look at the widget together and see how it's built, and we can paste in the script that we built to do that. So if we took a look at Service Portal widgets, and take a look at this widget here that I've built, we can see that, so it's very straightforward. All of this is just left default out of the box, except for this client controller section here. And that one will have our script that's simply going to take a look at the user agent of the device. So we'll take we'll grab that agent and put it in a variable, and then we'll use a simple regular expression to test if we see Android in that string, or if we see iPad, iPhone, or iPod in that string. And these URLs that are here are the URLs to the specific app stores. In this case, the public app store apps that we publish for Now Mobile and the agent app. These URLs could be the, for example, the Intune wrapped app, if that applies to you. So this particular widget, once you've created it, simply needs to be in a portal page and added to that page. So again, very straightforward, just a simple page that we'll call store navigate, just to make it easy. And that particular portal page has an instance of this widget that we were just looking at. So with that said, if we head back to Mobile App Builder and create a new function for this particular media section record, we can call it Open App Store. And it's also going to be a URL. We'll give it our static media section table. And in this case, the URL is going to just be the URL of that service portal page, which is going to be should just be MESP, the user mobile employee service portal, and then ID equals and the name of the ID of that specific portal page. And we'll give it a label. And save that. Okay, so we've got our functions. So we'll create an instance now of those functions. So to do that, we'll head back to our screen that we created, which we can find through our navigation bar. And so we'll, nope, don't want to close that. Find our cases launcher tab. And this is our section. And over here, we can, so this is our list item config again. And on it, you might have noticed earlier, we have this on tap functionality where we can either navigate to a screen when you tap, or we can use a function instance. So that's what we're going to want to do in this case. We're actually going to want to create a couple of these, and they're going to be on tap function instances. So the user can tap anywhere in here and it's going to invoke that function. So we'll give it a new function instance. And first we'll create our Open Now Mobile function instance, and we'll display, we'll give it a label, which won't display, but we'll just give it 1, and given order. And then we're going to need to just select the bottom here, the specific function. Which is going to be, I believe we called it Open Now Mobile. And we'll create another one for our App Store. And what did I call it? Open App Store. Okay, so we'll save that, and then we're just going to take a look at those functions real quick just to make sure our conditions are built correctly, because it seems we missed to do that earlier. So, for example, for the open the App Store function, we're going to want that only display for this particular record with the title of Need the App. So an easy way to do that would just be to leverage the title. We'll save that. And then we also have our Open Now Mobile one where we need to do a similar exercise. And in this case, I'll just copy it. The title is this. So now we can refresh and see how that looks. So for our You Open the ServiceNow agent only application, have an issue with that one, which we'll take a look at, but the opening the store, we can see that for a second there, it opened our portal page and then redirected the user to the correct app store. We'll just take a look at this other function. Oh, because I have the dash in there. Sorry about that. And there we go. Tap that and open up Now Mobile. So hopefully that was, this can be a useful tool for you to use. This kind of trick with the data item, you can, and the option on the section, UI section, in order to hide when there's no records, you could use for other similar use cases. You just need to find a query that is going to either return no records or return records. And you can, leverage this type of functionality, for example, to help our employees find the correct application here. So that's pretty much the exercise we wanted to walk through. David, are there any other questions?
Yeah, we have
we can address?
Tony. Tony asks, would it be possible to open or review a ticket in the mobile app from a link in an email? So I think Tony's asking about our deep linking capability. Ian, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah. So if from a push notification, we want to go to a specific link, is the question?
I think he just wants to be able to open up tickets from his email. So let me unmute Tony so he can clarify his request. I just allowed you to talk, Tony. Just unmute yourself and feel free to ask us directly.
Hi, Ian. It's Tony. Nice talking to you again. So we have people who does not that versatile with the mobile app, but they do get email notifications on like the Google client or on the mobile phone.
Sure.
Some of the directors just want to click that link, and since they already have the app, we're going to deploy the app. They would be able to view the incident ticket. That was one of the requests that came through after I come back from the conference.
Sure. Yeah. So as David mentioned earlier, we do have a function called universal linking. And what you can do with that is, because in this case, you're receiving an email. From the email, you can provide a link to a page, for example, on our service portal. And from there, once we have this configured, users going to see, they're viewing it on their phone, they're going to see an option at the top of the screen to saying, hey, we have an app for this, and allow the user to tap to jump to the app. So that's probably your best bet for this type of request. And David, if you don't mind, I don't know if you have a link handy for the docs or other resources that we could pass to Tony for that.
Yep, Tony, I just sent a link to the docs that you can explore a bit further. And if this is possibly a topic that you want us to dive deeper in the future, please let us know in our post-session survey. We are looking for more topics. So if there's a huge demand for it, would love to explore it further.
Sure, thank you. I'll send an email, a follow-up if I have questions. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, David.
Perfect. Thanks for the question.
All right. It looks like I'm not seeing any other questions. I did see a couple, but that person dropped, so we'll just wrap up here. But again, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you found this session helpful, please let us know in our post-session survey. There's going to be a couple questions that just ask what topics you'd like for us to explore in the future. And we love getting feedback from all of you, so just let us know. And if you're interested in any of our past mobile app academies, we do record these and then upload them to YouTube. This session will be up by tomorrow. And you can also find these on our mobile community site, of course. So make sure to subscribe to our forums, register to our App Academy series, and you'll get the latest notifications for them. With all that said, though, thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks.